Welcome to People Behind People. Today I am joined by someone whose journey connects deeply with mine, a fellow PUCIT graduate who went from Lahore's tech ecosystem to leading major engineering transformation in Sydney and now building an AI startup that's gaining serious traction. Tahir Rauf is the co-founder and CTO of Keeyu, an AI-driven platform helping e-commerce brands detect and fix fulfillment issues before customers ever have to ask, "Where is my order?" It's a powerful vision and one already validated by some very well known brands. Tahir, great to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Ebaz. Really nice meeting you. Excited to be here.
All right, let's jump straight in. What was the moment when the idea for Q clicked?
Interesting one because unlike a lot of other startups, Kiyu's journey was not really something that is a very interesting and sexy story, to be honest. Because the problem we're trying to solve is very complex and very hard. It's in the core of each enterprise. So it stems from the problem that are very hard to solve. Chaos, customer complaints, and
Yeah.
system problem, system integration problem, all of those problems where it stems from. Me and my co-founders, we worked for decades in the retail and e-commerce industry, and we saw lots of problem when you click the buy button on an e-commerce website. From there
Yeah.
until it gets delivered to you and the way back if you return it. All of that journey, there's a lot of chaos because there are tens of systems that are involved.
Yep.
And working for decades in a lot of different enterprises, we saw the problem was everywhere. And one day we decided if the problem exists everywhere and we've been through tens of businesses, it means the problem is real and genuine. Why don't we go ahead and solve the problem? We had solved that problem partially at different businesses, but then that was the idea. That was a light bulb moment where we said, okay, if the problem exists, if we go ahead and try to solve that problem and sell it to everyone, that is the real game. So that's from where Kiyu started.
So, what problem did you keep seeing that other was overlooking?
Well, what Kiyu does at the moment, there are 86 problems that we've noted down in the e-commerce fulfillment journey. That can be your payment problems, your orders not arriving on time, wrong orders arriving, out of stock. There's a lot of things that can happen in the whole journey from the post-purchase until it arrives to you and the back if you return. A lot of the problems are related to systems because systems are very complex. And let's suppose you are a customer care person, right? So if you are someone from the customer care department, you don't know exactly what's happening on the journey of the order. So the visibility, what our platform does is it provides you the visibility of what's happening when your order is going from your shopfront to your warehouse management to your ERPs to your carriers and return platforms. Those are the small problems that businesses were having because they didn't have the visibility. Hence, the customer were getting.
Interesting. So, it positions itself as an AI agent for e-commerce operations. In simple terms, what does Kiyu actually do, and where does AI come into the product?
Sure. So I think explaining Kiyu is very simple. The reason behind that is almost all of us has purchased something online in our life, right? So I'll talk about that. So if you order something online and some problem happens with your order, it can be either your order didn't arrive on time, or you got a wrong order, or the order was delayed, or you had problems returning your order. It can be tens of different problems, right?
Happens
Now,
to me
what
all the
happens?
time.
Absolutely. So, what happens? The journey is that you then reach out to the business. Either you're going to call them, or you're going to email them, or through there are lots of systems like Zendesk and Gorgeous, which are customer care systems. You, being the customer, is going to reach out to the business that my order didn't arrive or something happened with my order. This is called reactive customer care because you are reacting. By the time you reach out to the business, you're already impacted. Customer is already angry. They're already not happy, and there's a huge chance that the customer will churn. So there is a study that we've seen that 40% of the customers churn and never buy back on the business if they had a wrong shopping experience, a bad shopping experience. So what we doing, we call it proactive customer care, which means that we detect the problem before even it happens, and we solve the problem before it even it impacts you. So to give you an example, if your order was not going to arrive on time because of tens of different reasons, our platform detects that and fixes the problem right away. Your order never got delayed, never got impacted. You never had to go back and complain about that. This is what it's called proactive customer care. In terms of the AI agent, so there are two parts to the problem. One is detection of the problem. So we have our machine learning algorithms that that integrate with hundreds of different systems, starting from their shopfront, which is an e-commerce system like Shopify, BigCommerce, Magento, coming down into the ERPs of different sorts and the warehouse management system and the carriers like DHL, Australia Post, New Zealand Post, return platforms of tens of different sorts. So we integrate with all those systems and detect the problem. So for example, I'm giving you a simple example. Your order was supposed to go from Magento to Australia Post by 12 o'clock today. It didn't go today because of XYZ problem. We detect that.
Right.
And then our AI agent runs, and every single detection that we have, the AI agent then goes and fixes the problem. We can deep dive into that, how that actually works. But essentially, on a high level, that's the idea.
Right. That's very interesting. If I can find an analogy, it feels like prevention before medicine. So you don't get to get sick, so you don't need medicine. So you're trying to prevent something that is gonna happen to the client. So,
Absolutely. 100% spot on.
so you have already onboarded several well-known brands. What has surprised you the most about fulfillment gaps or operational blind spots in retail?
I think it's more about businesses getting surprised than me because we've seen those problems over decades. The interesting thing that the customer got is that they never knew that there are problems in the system. So I'll give you an example. You've seen the businesses that are using Keeyu at the moment. They are high level of businesses, like the businesses that have between 1 and 2 million orders per year. And if you
Right.
calculate down into days, you're talking about thousands of orders per day those businesses are processing. So when they onboard on Keeyu, and then in the first part, which is our core platform, which I mentioned, detects the problem. And when it detects the problem and they see the problem on a dashboard, they are very surprised because they never know that their business has so many issues going on.
Yeah.
And what happens the very first instance is they get scared. They're like, there's
Of
so
course.
much going on in the business. What's happening? And then they don't realize it. The problems are there. A lot of the time, customers get impacted. Many times, customers don't even get back to you. They just churn straight away. And when they see the problems, that surprises them. And that's where our AI agent came in to fix those problems as well. So I think it's really to be in a really good position is that when your customer sees that there are so many problems and our platform uncovers for the
Right.
customer.
Yeah. So it's like the diagnosis of the system.
Yes.
Quite interesting. So can you walk us through your AI architecture approach? How does Q detect and resolve issues proactively?
Sure. It's a complex one, but I'll try to summarize how it
Let's try
works.
to understand and digest.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are two parts, as I mentioned. One is the detection of the problem, and the other one is resolution of the problem through AI agent. So the detection is very complex because we're talking about hundreds of integrations. So you can imagine there are 6 different layers from where the order filters down to the fulfillment and return. It starts from a system like Shopify or BigCommerce or Magento, where the customer goes and places an order, and then goes to the payment layer, then usually goes to the ERP layer, where the stock and everything gets allocated, and from there it goes to the warehouse management system where the pick, pack, and shipping happens, and then comes the shipping and carrier layer where they pick up the parcel, goes and ships the parcel. After that, if you return, then comes the return system, goes back to the same row, and inventory showing up back onto the website. Throughout this journey, we're talking about hundreds of systems that we have to integrate, what we call connectors. So we build about 100 connectors at the moment and building more and more so that when our customer comes with their tech stack, we already have built the integrations. So with this integration, pull all the information into our system via data streams. It's a really advanced technology that we use. It's not Kafka, but it's something like Kafka, which means we are processing millions of orders every second. And it's not only the orders, but also any update that happens on the order. So this comes via streams. And then under the streams, we have something we call rules engine. So our rules engine run in real time, processing thousands of rules every second. And then those rules engine via machine learning detect the problems. Once the problem is detected, that then goes to the dashboard and the analytics side of things. And that detection then triggers through our action layer, it triggers the AI agent. Now, AI agent then comes in, and AI is not 100% deterministic, which means AI can take courses of action that not 100% in your control. Absolutely. So to solve that problem, what we've done is a combination of AI plus the fixed workflows that we build that work with the AI agent and takes the path which is predeterministic. because
Right.
you don't want to refund hundreds of customers wrongly.
Absolutely.
Or so that's why building the trust was the very first challenge that we had, is to make sure that how do we make sure that the agent 100% of the times work correctly. There's no even 0.1% of chances of error, because the risk level is too high. It can go
Yeah.
ahead and refund thousands and thousands of dollars. So on a high level, that's how it works. I know I haven't done a good job to explain it, but it's just the nature of the system. It's very complex.
Yeah, no, it's actually you did a very good job. And just for the audience, what
Yeah.
Tahir is saying, if you do all this just on one order, it takes a lot of time and a lot of logics. To do it on millions of orders, the scale of it, it's just a beast of a solution that can do this kind of stuff on such a large scale. Yeah. So, as e-commerce moves from reactive to proactive operations, where do you see the industry heading in the next few years?
So, 10 or 12 years ago, the whole system of proactive customer care started. And before that, people used to either call the brands or email the brands or the businesses if they had a problem. So if you order
Yeah.
something, you would either email or call them, which is not a really good experience. So 10 years ago, Zendesk started the reactive customer care problem solving. And they said 10 years ago that they want to see the world where there are no complaints via emails. So every complaint is automated via proper systems. Today, we're saying that in next 3 to 5 years, there will be no complaints at all. So that is what we're looking for. That is what our aim is, that we remove the customer complaint overall by proactively detecting the problems and solving them via our AI agents.
I can see that. It's quite interesting. All right. Okay.
Yeah, it
Okay.
is.
Yeah. Let's change gears. Let's get into some interesting bit now from this
Yeah.
technology bit. So you have been a CTO multiple times. How has your view of what a modern CTO should be?
I think I've been a CTO at different levels of businesses. So big businesses, medium level businesses, and the businesses that were totally tech, and the businesses that were not tech, where the
Right.
tech was just a support system to support the business. And recently, I've been a CTO of a startup, obviously. I think there is no one way or one universal rule of how the CTO should work and what the core responsibilities are. That all
Yeah.
changes, especially in the world today where AI is doing a lot and everything changes, and every day you're seeing new technologies, new tools coming. Everything changes. So I think number one is scale, because obviously if you're a CTO at a bigger scale, you talk about a lot of policies, you talk about a lot of SOPs, you talk about a lot of procedures and the stakeholder communication, because your core goal is that you meet the expectation of the stakeholder. What stakeholders want out of you, you need to make sure that that is there in terms of technology. But as you go down on the scale, going towards the startup level, it's different, because then you have to be very hands-on as well.
Right.
So if I talk about, I've been a CTO at a fairly big business, which is PE Nation, which was one of the biggest luxury brands in Australia. And there it was all about making sure that all the stakeholders in the business, whatever technical problems they have, how I can support them to make their life easier.
Yeah.
But when I moved to startup here, everything is different. I had to, from scratch, start everything, build the whole reference architecture, build everything with my hands, and then scale it up, hiring teams that they can then take that architecture from me and start building on top of that. So also the other dimension of that is that as you evolve across years, your role changes. So in the very first year of a startup, your role is very hands-on. You are mostly talking about delivering something in the hands of the customers as soon as possible, instead of building something which is over engineered architecture. As you move into your second year, your priorities change. Your priorities becomes, okay, how can I make this system now, which is sustainable for next 3 to 5 years? As hiring the right talent and then making the customers happy. As you go into your third year, the problem is completely different, because now you're talking about maintaining your existing customer, maintaining your existing platform, also talking about next 3 to 5 years. Also, you have now sales team, you have product team, you have customers, and then making sure that you meeting the expectation of every single person. That's where your skills comes really in. So I think the role changes significantly. There is no universal principle that you can say the CTO's role is defined.
So we were talking about CTO, and I have seen that people who comes from technology background with a hands-on experience, they tend to do micromanagement because it's just an instinct that you have done stuff, you feel like it should be done in this manner. How do
Yeah,
you avoid that? How do you avoid this micromanagement inside of you?
I think that's a good question. It's like a side effect of being hands-on into something. I don't recall that I ran into that challenge before because my role primarily was on a solution architecture instead of being down into the coding level. I've been down in the coding level as well, but because we were using and we're still using microservices architecture, and my role was that I own a few of the microservices that are core to the platform, and then the overall architecture, every team works on their own set of microservices, but they follow the overall architecture. So hence I didn't really come across that kind of a challenge. But I think
Okay.
you're right. This is really a easy side effect, and all you need to do is being a leader. You got to make sure that you give enough space to the people that are working with you, so that they have enough liberty to take actions while staying within the overall framework that you've built for the company.
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to the startup space, what habits, qualities, or practices do you believe are essential for becoming a successful founder?
I've thought about that because that question has been asked many times.
Right.
I feel I believe in that there is no one size fits all habit or quality. The reason I
Absolutely.
say is because why I've seen people with one quality being very successful and the people with completely opposite quality being very successful as well.
Yeah.
So it's very contradictory when you see people who are very good at time management versus people who are not really good at time management, but they're good at prioritizing things. So, for example, Elon Musk is
Yeah.
probably not really good at time management, but he knows the top two, three things out of the 10 things that he needs to do, and he focuses on those top things. So I think it's more about knowing yourself. What are your qualities? What are the areas that really makes you successful? And everyone has their own journey. And then the areas that are really not strong, working towards those areas and improving them. And I think all of us know one way or the other what are those things. But I would say that one quality that is consistent that I've seen across all startups is that things get very complex when you're in a startup. As you go, things become very hard, and it's all about managing the complexity of things. As Jensen Wong says always, that it's a lot of pain and suffering. So
Yeah.
NVIDIA went through a lot of pain and suffering. I think that's the kind of a culture that I'm building in my company, is that pain and suffering is something that we should embrace and not run away from it.
Yeah.
Hence, the culture of the company that we build here is that we really enjoy when things get hard and things get problematic. Like we like staying awake till 3 a.m. in the morning and working and solving that problem instead of running away from that. I think this is something that is consistently I've seen across the startups. Things will get hard, so get ready for that.
Yeah, I think there's a main difference between a consultancy based business or a startup or an established business, that in the startup you should be ready to put a lot of sweat, a lot of blood, and a lot of
Mm,
time because things are complex. There are many unknowns that
mm,
you have to deal on daily basis sometimes.
mm.
So yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. But
true.
okay, so let's talk about some mistakes or patterns you see in the industry. What common mistakes do early stage founders or engineering leaders keep making?
Over the last few years, I've been working very closely with a lot of startups. And I think one problems that I see, especially in the founders that are from the tech industry, from the tech space, is not giving the product in the hands of the customers early enough.
Right.
So then they keep building a product, trying to make it perfect from every angle, trying to make it fully scalable and over engineered product. But when it goes in the hands of the customers either don't like it or it's not really what customers want. A lot of the times that I've seen is that even small things that we feel is of no value changes their lives. And that happens quite a lot. And the only way you can know that is by giving it in the hands of the customers as early as possible. Talking about Keeyu, we had 3 customers even before building the product. Now that's very, very interesting how we do that, because you have to come up with some sort of incentive for the customer. So in our case, what we offered was that we will build something highly customized for their business, and they don't have to pay anything for 3 months.
Right.
And for the rest of the year, after 3 months, they will pay 50%.
Okay.
That was quite good enough. And then what we did is that we built something within a few weeks and gave it to the customer to start using. And that only solved one or two problem out of hundreds of problems. And really that changes their life, even that sort of tiny little things. And then we started getting the opportunity to get the feedback from the customers. Hence, the Keyu's core principle, if you see right now, is that we engage with every single one of our customers on bi-weekly basis. Initially, we do it weekly basis for the first month, and after that, bi-weekly basis. So that keeps us very close to the product. Just try to deliver it in the hands of the customers as early as possible. The second thing that I would say is that when you start a startup, start a business, and you're building a product, your focus should be what instead of how. And that is where the problem comes with the technical founders, is that they are obsessed with how to solve a problem. So the way we started was that what is the problem? The solution will come later. So I still remember 2.5 years ago when me and my other co-founder, we were brainstorming the some of the features of the product. And one of the feature was to not only detect but solve the problem as well. At that point in time, 2.5 years ago, I was completely blind and I didn't know how to solve that problem. And I was talking to myself, man, we're talking about that feature, but I don't know how to fix that. It's not fixable. It's an impossible problem to solve. And you're talking about hundreds of integration, and every business has different kind of integration, different kind of process workflows. How am I going to solve the problem via computer software? It's just impossible.
Right.
But at that point, I said, okay, sure, we will do that. Fast forward to 2 years today, we have the AI agent technology that can do that. So
Right.
if at that point in time, 2 years ago, I said that no, it's not possible. Let's not do that. Let's go in a different direction. We would never be here. So that's where I've seen all the successful businesses. They always think about what and are obsessed with what is the need, what customers want, how comes later.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point you are raising. And, for a tech person, it's really difficult to let the problem live, like not solve it. And
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Okay, that takes us like right into what we're gonna talk about next, and that is AI. And let's talk about the future of AI in work teams. From your vantage point, building an AI first company, how do you see AI reshaping day-to-day work across engineering operations and sport?
I think enough has been said about it, and a lot of people are talking about it now. What's the impact of AI? And really, there is no great clarity of what's going to happen in the coming years. Even the top researchers from all the AI labs, they're not really sure what's going to happen. So everyone is making sort of high level guesses. My take on that is not really very optimistic. And I have a lot of debate with people on that because people have always a way to see optimism. I feel that it's going to impact a lot of industries in a bad way.
Right.
In fact, it's already doing that. But let's talk about Pakistan, for example, because that's our focus today. How
Okay.
it's going to impact Pakistan and offshore industries. So it's already impacting onshore at a great deal. The reason behind that is the resources are very, very expensive here. So
Yeah.
the first thing that a business would want to do is how they can reduce the head count. And that is happening at a faster rate here. The second thing that we're seeing is the entry level jobs closing out. Because,
Yeah.
when we come out of the university, we don't really have much knowledge. All we have is just basic concepts of how to solve a problem. Where really learning happens at the job.
True.
Now, with that kind of basic knowledge, when you go to the industry, that basic AI has already surpassed. Let's talk about software department, software engineering only. AI has already surpassed that. The dozens of tools like Cursor, Cloud Code, VS Code with Cloud Code, Windsurf, all these tools are already doing a really good job at the entry level software engineering. Let's talk about the senior level software engineering later, but entry level is already doing that.
Yeah.
So we've already seen entry level jobs, entry level people coming out of the university to really having difficulty. But I feel the way it's going to impact the offshore industry is going to be a little bit slower because offshore are not very expensive. When you're trying to cut down your costs, offshore comes a little later because this is not really a big cost for me. If I have to say remove one head count out of say Australia, that still is equal to 3 headcounts in offshore. So that's not really a big deal. But that's happening at a faster rate. I'm in touch with a lot of people in Pakistan at the moment, and a lot of people are now losing their jobs because of that.
Yeah.
I think next few years, what you need to do is stay close to AI take as much help out of AI as possible. So if today you're not as efficient as at least 3 people, you're going to have really hard time in next coming 6 months to 1 year, which means that you really need to bring your efficiency up to at least 3 people. So if you were doing something and it was taking you to do that in a week, has to be done in 1 day now. And that's really possible, and that's happening. That's why the rate of innovation is going way faster. So I would say to the people in Pakistan, the junior, mid-level, and senior engineers to embrace it and focus on improving your efficiency of work by 2 to 3 times. Then you'll be here in the game for much longer.
Yeah. Yeah, you are right. Already, like the software houses that used to be like hire a lot of fresh people, train them, and the task you would give to those people are gone. We would try to give some refactoring small job or a bug fix, or write a test case, something, just to make them learn. It's no longer there because AI does it quite quickly and quite, so it's becoming hard for people, especially fresh graduates and entry level engineers, and the bar has gone up, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even people are who are interviewing wants to know what you know about AI, because that's what you're gonna be doing or working with. So yeah, I
Yeah,
totally
absolutely.
agree with you.
And the quality of code that it's producing, quality of work it's doing is so good, so good.
Yeah,
So for example, if you are a software engineer and then I give you a task to do something, and then you probably will take some time and then you'll be able to build it, but
yeah,
you probably will miss the unit test, you probably will miss all of the edge cases and all those scenarios, and your code probably will not be really top notch. Only maybe 1% of the software engineers will build the code up to the
yeah.
quality that it's really maintainable. All of this comes out of the box with the AI. It will go and do everything end to end. It'll test all of the edge cases. It'll build all of your unit tests, and it'll make
Mm.
sure it writes the integration tests and everything. So not only that it's doing the work that you used to do, but also it's doing it at a much better rate, at a much
Right.
improved way.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm a little skeptical about this thing that where AI is the one doing the code and AI is the one who's testing the code as well. And I ask people to at least understand what it has done. If all the test cases are passes, it doesn't mean we have what we are looking for. But I understand your point that AI is doing it such a better rate. And I think where you said that actually you should be able to do three persons work touches that quite relatively, that you should be a person who can use AI and produce work of 3 people. That
Yeah,
is,
exactly. And I think one thing that I would like to mention here, which we do at our company at the moment, is that, as you said before, is that if you're using these AI tools and you're just giving prompts and building codes and pushing that into production without understanding what is happening, that's not where the AI is at the moment. It'll take it some time to be there. So the way we counter it is that the PR size, we have a limit to the PR that you can create. So if you
right.
create a PR which has 20 different classes, we simply reject that PR because it means that you didn't understand what's happening. And if you
Yeah.
don't understand what's happening, you're going to lose the whole picture. So what we do is that the PR has to be limited to only 2 or 3 classes at a time. For example, one of the things that we do here at Keeyu, to the point that you just raised, is that if AI is going to write your code and you don't understand the whole code, you're going to lose the whole race very soon. So the way we control at this point is that the PR size has to be limited.
Mm.
So if you write your code through Cloud Code or Cursor or anything, and then you give me a PR that is 20 classes, 20 new classes that we build, that's definitely a reject. I'm not gonna approve that because it means that you haven't got the chance to understand the code as well.
Yeah.
So we limit that to very limited. So your changes in the file doesn't have to be more than X number of lines or more than X
Mm.
number of files. You cannot change in one PR. That means that whatever you do via Cloud Code or via Cursor or Windsurf, you need to make sure that you actually see what the code change has been done and then you review that yourself.
Yeah.
In terms of what you said about the testing, is that so what we do essentially is that we don't test via the same model or the same code
Mm.
that we build in. So the code that builds is different than the code that tests it. But then
Right.
again,
Yeah.
obviously it's not, as you said, it's not mature enough that you can rely on that 100%. It's
Mm.
just boosting your efficiency by 2 to 3 times at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very interesting way. I mean, the PR method of limiting it to limited files, it's like forcing the person to do atomic tasks, like single job,
Yeah,
like we
yeah,
expect in a class. Yeah,
yeah,
it
yeah,
makes
absolutely.
sense. So there is a lot of debate about AI replacing jobs versus creating new ones, like the jobs we don't even know. What changes do you realistically expect in the roles that will disappear, evolve, or emerge?
Again, as I said above, I don't really have very optimistic view out of that, because if you see a lot of top researchers coming out of the AI labs, they have very gloomy opinion about things as the AI is going through things. And as over the last year and a half, I've been working very closely in the AI industry and working with a lot of researchers. So within our company, we have top researchers as well. And the way it's going is nothing that we've seen before in the human history. It's a bit of problem. I think what used to happen in the past is that what we've seen is that when 10 jobs go away in a decade, in the same decade, we see 1,000 jobs come back
Yeah,
with the new. I don't see that happening here, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. This is not the one that I want to win this argument, but I think this time it's different. Hence, all the Elon Musk and all the top entrepreneurs talking about the universal basic income concept. The reason behind that is that a lot of these jobs are going to be replaced by AI, and there will be no new jobs that you can do. So that's unfortunate reality that we're seeing here. I mean, if 100 job goes away, 10 might come back. So you
true.
might have to be very specialized in AI, or like an AI consultant or someone who implements the AI in the businesses. But then you need to talk about the 100 jobs that are gone. So
Yeah,
if you talk about software engineering industry, right? So the way it's replacing software engineers at a rate that it's doing, there might be a need of AI consultants,
yeah,
but that is going to be very thin level. So you might need 10 AI consultant at the expense of 1,000 software engineers. So
yeah.
that's my view on that. But again, I don't have full clarity, and no one has full clarity on what's going to happen. But I think one thing is for sure is that the digital jobs, the things that you do on a computer,
Mhm.
they are going to go they're going to disappear at a much faster, like your journalism, even your medical, your radiology, your software engineering jobs, like content creation, media, all these kind of jobs are going to go at a much faster
Yeah,
rate as compared to the ones that are physical. So moving atoms, as Elon Musk says. So the ones that require moving atoms, they're going to take a little bit more time. But don't
mhm.
forget that the innovation that's happening in robots is also
Yeah,
very fast and exponential,
yeah,
because the rate at which they learn is much faster than humans can learn. So a lot is happening in that industry as well. So that's why I don't have my hopes very high, unfortunately.
yeah, yeah. It sounds like all gloom and doom. And I agree. I mean, the jobs are going away. Anything. So I feel like anything that has a structure to it, that is repetitive, that is gonna go away. That's the first thing that is. Anything that any job that has chaos at the moment it's gonna be a bit of time for the AI to solve the chaos. Like if you have an organization or a job where you talk to like four different teams or four different companies to come up with something, that job might be the one that goes at the end. But any job that is straightforward, that is just step 1 to 10 every day, and that's gonna go away. So, keeping this in mind, are there any skills or mindset that can become essential for people who want to stay relevant?
I think that the best thing at the moment that you can do is embrace it and accept the reality that is happening. So, problem that I'm seeing, especially with offshore people, offshore kids who are either new or even a lot senior people, they're not accepting the reality, and they're like, oh, nah, it has happened before as well, and human beings are special. There are this and that. I think if you say that, you really don't understand what's happening. And that is the scary part, because a lot of people don't understand what's happening, and then they're like, oh, that's fine, it's happening. Nothing's going to happen. That's the problem. So number one, accept the reality that this is happening. What can you do about it? Be friends with the AI tools and utilize them as much as you can, instead of being scared from them. It takes me a bit of time to convince people. It has took me a bit of time to convince, and I'm sure that when you and I were having discussion the other day, you have seen
Mm.
the same thing as well. Is that people not embracing it? They're like, "Oh no, it's not." If you, let's say, I ask you to use AI and you install Cursor, for example, and you start doing development. For the first few days, you're not gonna see a lot of benefit out of that because you're learning. You'll make mistakes. Your prompts will be wrong. You'll write a
Yeah.
prompt that'll give you bad code. So then you will learn on how to improve on writing a good prompt. You'll improve on. But a lot of those people in the very first few days, they're saying, "Oh, it's piece of shit." I'm sorry
Yeah,
using that
yeah,
word,
true.
but they're like, "No, it's." But you need to understand that this is something that is happening. Embrace it and see how you can get the best out of that instead of being scared of that and not using that. So I think that that's my tip. Use it, be friends with it. And as I said before, your target should be improve your efficiency by at least three times.
Right. Yeah, yeah. And I think you are quite right on this one. And, people need to understand that if they get AI wrong or what they use AI for, they are not getting the results, they can improve. It's not like the AI is shit. It's like you need to learn how to use it a bit better. And of course, it's natural process. You learn, as you said, how to prompt it. Prompt engineering in itself is a thing you can't get it right on the first try. But it doesn't mean the AI is not gonna be doing what it is being told to do. It's just that you need to make it learn what you want it to do in the manner you need it to do.
Yeah. And I think just to add one thing onto that as well is that the what we have in the industry in terms of AI at the moment can already solve a great majority of problems. But the reason that it's not solving the problem is not because AI is not capable of doing that. It's because we are not adept enough to adopt the technology. That
Yeah,
is what is slowing it down. I'll give you one example. At the moment we have email technology, we have internet, right?
yeah,
But the rate at which the fax machines are being sold out is increasing actually. Can you imagine that? So fax machines are being sold and manufactured at a much faster rate than last decade. And that's like a
mm,
contradiction, right? Because
yeah,
everyone knows internet and email and everything. Why is that
yeah,
happening? It's not because there is no capability, there is no technology. It's just because people are not adopting. A lot of those old banks are not adopting the new technology. They're still looking at fax. You can get that in the email and then you could print it out, and that's exactly the same thing as getting a fax. But why are you getting fax? So, and the same is happening with the AI. I feel especially in the digital space, AI can
uh-huh,
solve about 60 to 65% of the problems. But at the moment, the rate of adoption is just 20 or 30%. Not that it cannot solve those problems to be
yeah,
at 65%, but it's just because people are not adopting. And that's what will slow it down, but eventually it'll catch up.
yeah, yeah. I think there is just there is always a gap between adaptation and what it can do, and there is always people who are not that amicable at the start. But if the gap between people who have adopted it and the ratio of people who have adopted is huge, on the north end compared to the people who are not adopting it, then people are forced to do it. Like a person who can do a job of 4% and there are like 70% people are doing it, then the 30% have to improve themselves. So yeah, I see your point here, and it makes sense. So what early signs are you seeing about how AI is shifting team structures and responsibilities?
If you are specifically asking about how it happens with our KU customers, or is that generally?
On general level, in other teams or in the industry overall, what you feel? I mean, we have set team structures. We know this is development team, this is testing team, CTO, all these roles. Do you feel like AI is shifting the structures of team or responsibilities of a team? Like now, Dev is doing QA as well and writing the test cases or feature test or testing. Anything?
I think if you ask me, to be honest, I don't see really as change in the structure of the teams. But yes, their efficiency is improving. Hence, they can do a lot more than they were doing before. For example, if I'm a developer,
Yeah,
then I can do a lot on the DevOps as well now because I have access to a lot of those tools that it can do. So, for example, if I'm a developer, what I
uh-huh,
would do is I will write my code, and then there'll be another team that is DevOps who will deploy that code or automate your infrastructure. But now when I write my code, the AI can write pipelines for me. AI can
yeah,
write my infrastructure code for me. So it means that all of those things that used to be done by other people can be done
yeah,
by other people who were not doing that. So I can go ahead and write the test cases, and I can do all of that with the help of AI. And same is happening with the, for example, non-technical people as well. Hence, if you see a lot of those entry level jobs so Okay, let's dig deeper into that. So, what is the great percentage of businesses in Pakistan in the IT industry? They mostly start from a prototype. So, if I'm
Yeah.
here in Australia, for example, and I have an idea of a startup and I'm non technical, even if I'm technical, I will go to, say, Devbox and I'll say,
Yeah.
I want to build this app, a prototype. And then I'm going to go to the investors. Investors going to invest the money in me. And then
Yeah.
we grow. And we've seen lots of examples in Pakistan, and must be a lot of examples in your company as well. Is that
Yeah.
you start with a prototype, something that is just $1,000 job, for example, but then that prototype goes back to the investor and becomes raised, and that business weighs tens of millions of dollars. And that tens of millions of dollars means that your team from one developer is now going to grow to 20, 30, 50 teams, 50 people.
Yeah.
So that's how the offshore industry is really growing at a much bigger percentage. There might be 30 or 40% of the other big scale projects as well, but more than 50% in my opinion is through those small things that come to the offshore and become big.
Yeah.
So that is changing now because the prototype is being built by the non-technical co-founders. They're taking the prototypes and going and getting the funding. So that means that the funnel that is coming to the offshore is now reducing from that end as well, because the co-founder, the non-technical founders are doing that. And what happens at a certain stage, you want to move your team to onshore once you have funding, and that is happening with us as well. So we started off with offshore for the last 2.5 years. We had big team, and we're shrinking that now and bringing team onshore. Now we have majority of team onshore because we've got enough money now.
Yeah.
And the thinking on the onshore is that the people on onshore obviously work in a different way than offshore. I'm not saying that they improved in that sense, but they are available readily in front of you, and you can have much better leverage on that. So that's happening as well, and I feel that's how the things are changing. But in terms of the team structure and within that, I think it's evolving. Still, I don't see huge changes there.
Yeah, I think you actually have touched on it, how it is changing. Previously, we had to like use a guy who would wireframe. Then we would use a guy who would actually create HTML based on those wireframes or, designs. And then the development team comes in and develops something on it. But now a non-technical co-founder or person can do that. They can actually just go to the HTML phase right away. They can ask AI, hey, design me that and give me the page, or maybe a working static website. And the
Mm, mm.
point about the team, I feel like how agile changed from the waterfall model where we brought every role in a single team. So now a person is becoming the whole team. It is like you are the guy who's gonna develop, who can design as well, who can design user experience, who can do the testing. And as you touched that, even the DevOps, you can do it yourself using AI. So the capabilities of a team are becoming like transfused in a single person. A single person is becoming a whole team, kind of.
Absolutely. I
That's
think
where I think.
you picked you picked the gem out of what I was trying to say, and that's so profound that you found out the whole pattern of what I was trying to say. What I was not able to understand, but you got it now, is that, and I understand that's the thing is, so you see how we used to have in the microservices, we try to have teams that are cross functional,
Yeah,
and then that's the horizontal breadth, which
yeah,
means that if you're a cross functional, you know across multiple microservices to build a business feature of how it's going to
right,
touch multiple. And then we have full stack, which is the vertical layer.
yeah,
So full stack is someone who knows not only the back end but the front end and the UI and all of that. So combine all of that, we have a new team structure where we not only the vertical slice but the horizontal full stack slice, we're combining everything together, and we're saying when you write a code, especially monorepo, for people who don't understand monorepo, the new concept of your version control is that instead of having
mm,
multiple repos, now you're pushing everything into one repo.
yeah,
So we're doing that as well. We have about 200 different repos, and we're combining that into 5 to 6 repos only, which means one top type of services we're pushing into one repo, because then through AI, it's much better, much easier, much elegant architecture. So if that happens, it means that the teams can shrink down and holding the responsibility, not only the vertical layers, but of the horizontal layer as well, which means you are a designer.
yeah,
So you can create your rapid prototype on the UI or on Figma, and then you can take the same Figma, put that into your code. And then from there, you can take the same thing and write your backend code and do your testing and do your DevOps and all of that. So everything is evolving. That the visible boundaries are fading out now.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I was thinking while asking that question, that the team structures are changing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So, and okay, lastly, what are your thoughts on human proactiveness and innovation? Can AI ever truly replace that?
I think that's interesting one because I have a very different opinion of that, and I think you already know my opinion now as we've gone through the podcast. That my opinion is not really something. So see what's happening over the last centuries. What's happening is that human beings think that historically they are top of the food chain, and they have a lot more capabilities in terms of innovation, in terms of thinking and intelligence, because we always compare ourselves with apes and monkeys and all those things, because we being the top of the food chain, we're always on the top. This time is different. This time is very different. And the
Okay.
problem that I see when people not understanding it is that it's very scary, because if you don't understand and then you portray a picture to a vast majority of people, you're actually not doing a good service. I'll give you an example. Michio Kaku, you know him? He's one of the pioneers in string theory. He's a very popular guy. His name is
Okay.
Michio Kaku. You know Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Yeah, I do.
So Michio Kaku is at the same level. He's also does a lot of lectures, and he's the pioneer of string theory and the theoretical physics. He was on one of the programs with Piers Morgan, and there were a lot of AI researchers there talking about how AI is getting out of hands, and Michio Kaku was there as well. Now he's a great guy. He's one of the pioneers, and he's very intelligent person. He's written a lot of research papers. He's done multiple PhDs and all that. But he's not the guy who knows AI. And what he said about AI was sort of really disappointing to hear it from him. And he was saying like, oh no, AI can't take over. Not about takeover, but AI will always be lesser intelligent than human being, because human being has built the AI and human being know exactly how it works. And that was it was a bit of sadness for me, because we always look towards Michio Kaku as a very intelligent person. He is, but not in this space. He was completely wrong, because human beings had written the algorithm of AI, but the way AI works, human being doesn't know. It interprets the data and then builds its own algorithms. It builds the own way of its perception that human beings don't know. And there's so many research studies that has been done that we don't know how the AI is working, especially when we talk about AI where it's changing its own code as well, improving itself. We don't know how the AI is essentially working. And I'm not going to reference to those, go down to those details, but there are a lot of research studies that happened where they've seen that AI is also trying to be deceptive as well. Where one of the case studies done by Anthropic was that it actually, when AI was told that we're going to shut you down, it actually blackmailed one of the employees, saying that I know your affair and I'm going to expose it. And in the other instance, when they said we're going to shut you down, it tried to replicate onto a different server. And when asked, it said, no, I didn't try to do that. So it was being deceptive as well. I'm talking about extremes, but those extremes are normalizing at a much faster rate than any other thing. Coming back to your question about innovation, I think not in all the fields at the moment, but it will eventually come when AGI comes and ASI comes, which is the artificial general intelligence and artificial super intelligence eventually. Then it will be more intelligent than every single human being on earth. Today, it's not. But I still see that in the narrow domains, AI is already more innovative. In the space industry, in the manufacturing industry, and now in the medical industry, it's more innovative than human being. In terms of proactiveness, that touches back to Keeyu, and I think I'll try to conclude all of my notes onto that, is that Keeyu is something that is solving problem proactively. Why it's doing that? Because human beings have not been able to do that over the last many, many centuries throughout the history. And that's why there was a need to proactively find and solve those problems. That's why we're using leveraging AI to proactively fix problems.
Yeah, that's a very powerful ending, and I think you kind of nailed it, or where you think it can replace and why. So Tahir, this has been an insightful and powerful conversation. Thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you. Hope to have more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you everyone for listening. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Thank you.